2611 Mumbai terror key plotter handed over to India. Captain Tahawwur Hussain Rana handed over by the US to NIA. Ex-Pakistan Army terrorist being brought to India on board a special flight. The Pakistani military jihad complex planned to target Siddhivinayak Temple and National Defence College. Pakistani terrorists and enablers had mapped sensitive locations across multiple cities in India. Will Captain Tahawwur Hussain Rana spill the beans, exposing Pakistan's military jihad nexus? Big win for India in the war on Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, and that's our top focus on 5 Live. Pakistan Army's Captain Tahawwur Hussain Rana had not only arranged logistics and funds, he also arranged cover for that Pakistani-American terrorist David Coleman Headley in the run-up to 2611 Mumbai terror attacks. He'd also carried out reconnaissance missions. They'd visited multiple sites in India, including the Siddhivinayak Temple and the National Defence College in Delhi with Headley and SIP. So these white-collared Pakistani terrorists had been instructed by the founder of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Hafiz Mohammad Saeed, a UN-designated terrorist, to identify potential targets across India. Because they wanted to repeatedly strike India. They wanted to repeatedly bleed India. Investigators learned that even Siddhivinayak Mandir in Mumbai and the National Defence College in Delhi were on their radar. David Coleman Headley, incidentally, had bought Kalava from the Siddhivinayak Mandir, and all this information came out in that Chicago courtroom when the Federal Bureau of Investigation tried them. The 10 Pakistani terrorists, they not only had Hindu names and identity cards, they were also wearing Kalava in an attempt perhaps to pass it off as Hindu terror. So that entire bogey of Hindu terror had many takers in Pakistan. Will those questions be answered? There are many, many questions. Perhaps the interrogation of Tahawwur Hussain Rana will reveal this link of Pakistan's state, Pakistan's quasi-state, elements like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and the elements in India working in tandem to bleed India. We track that story very, very closely. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started. Close to 17 years after one of the worst terror attacks in India, the 2611 Mumbai terror attacks in 2008, finally, there's a glimmer of hope. There is hope that justice for the victims of 2611 Mumbai terror attacks may just be within reach. The mastermind, one of the key plotters of 2611 Mumbai terror attacks, Tahawwur Hussain Rana, is being extradited to India. He will arrive in India soon. He was one of the key plotters. He had repeatedly visited India. He's an ex-Pakistan Army captain. He was living in Canada, had a Canadian passport, along with that Pakistani-American terrorist David Coleman Headley. Using their American and Canadian passports, they repeatedly visited India, set up a company in India for immigration, carried out reconnaissance missions in Mumbai, in Pune, in Ahmedabad, in Delhi, and several other locations. Finally, Rana is being brought to India. He'll be interrogated. Perhaps we will know who were the sleeper cells who assisted them. Where all did they carry out their reconnaissance missions? Where all did they intend to bleed India? Because 2611 was just one of the many terror attacks that Hafiz Mohammad Saeed and Pakistani state had planned to bleed India. They know about potential targets and future targets. Much more during the course of the next half hour. But first, this report.
Tahawwur Rana, one of the key conspirators behind the 26/11 terror attack in Mumbai, is extradited from the United States. Rana is set to arrive in India Thursday morning, escorted by a team of intelligence and investigative officials. The terrorist is being brought in a special plane which will stop at an undisclosed location en route to New Delhi. High security arrangements are in place at jails in both Delhi and Mumbai. Rana, a Pakistani-origin Canadian businessman, was an active operative of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. He helped David Headley, alias Daud Gilani, with travel documents for his reconnaissance of Mumbai targets. India Today accessed the NIA charge sheet that reveals Headley and Rana spoke over 200 times during Headley's 8 visits to India before the 26/11 attacks. David Headley too played a pivotal role in planning the attacks. In June 2006, Headley applied for an Indian visa with Rana's help, arriving in Mumbai on September 14, 2006. In June 2007, Headley extended his visa for 10 years with Rana's assistance. Rana was in Mumbai from November 11 to 21 in 2008 and left the country just days before terrorists from Pakistan launched attacks at various locations in India's financial capital. Rana faces charges of waging war against India, murder, forgery and criminal conspiracy.
Today I'm pleased to announce that my administration has approved the extradition of one of the plotters and one of the very evil people of the world, and having to do with the horrific 2008 Mumbai terrorist attack, to face justice in India. So he's going to be going back to India to face justice.
Now, almost 2 decades later, the mastermind is back on Indian soil. And every Indian has one thing on their mind: justice. Bureau Report, India Today.
So let me tell you a little more about this white-collar terrorist from Pakistan. He's an ex-Pakistan Army officer. He was a doctor in the Pakistan Army. He was at the Siachen Glacier. Then he jumped ship. He went off to Canada. He took Canadian citizenship and was a Lashkar-e-Taiba sleeper cell in Canada. And this is where countries like Canada and the US need to be very wise. David Coleman Headley was a Lashkar-e-Taiba sleeper cell in the United States. Tahawwur Hussain Rana was a sleeper cell in Canada. He knew about the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks or the plot to target Mumbai, multiple locations in Mumbai, right from 2005. That's when the plot was hatched. He provided logistics, financial support and cover to people like David Coleman Headley, and I wonder how many others from Pakistan who used this America and Canada route to come to India, set up a business in India and recce prominent places, and they made very powerful friends in India. We know about some. Unfortunately, we don't know about many others. I hope that information finally comes out. So he collaborated with terrorists like David Coleman Headley, with Rahman and Ilyas Kashmiri for future attacks. Post 26/11, they wanted to carry out more terror attacks. That was Hafiz Saeed's instruction to them. Now, David Coleman Headley had persuaded Rana to meet Rahman in Dubai, and he helped Headley get a visa, a multiple entry visa to India. Used his Chicago office, and that was, he set up this first world immigration company in Chicago with an office in Mumbai. And that gave him the cover to carry out reconnaissance in India. He provided exact details like coordinates, GPS coordinates to the Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists and ISI about where Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus was, where Cafe Leopold was, where Ville Parle was, where Taj Hotel was, where Nariman Point was. And these were exactly the places that were targeted by the Pakistani terrorists. And he and David Coleman Headley operated in tandem, took instructions directly from Hafiz Muhammad Saeed and a certain Major Iqbal of the Pakistan ISI. The Narendra Modi government has relentlessly been pursuing the extradition of Captain Tahawwur Hussain Rana from the US to India. Remember, both Rana and Headley were tried in US but let off in 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks case. They were convicted in the Copenhagen terror attack case. But his interrogation is more than just an academic exercise. Hafiz Saeed, like I said, wanted to continue bleeding India. He wanted to inflict more than 1,000 cuts on India. And these educated white-collar terrorists like Tahawwur Rana and David Headley, and I wonder how many other secret weapons did Pakistan have in India? They were recruiting sleeper cells in India. With his arrest, perhaps the big fish will be nailed. But the bigger question, will bigger fish in Pakistan like Hafiz Mohammed Saeed and Pakistan Army and ISI officers, will they be nailed? Joining me on this special broadcast, Nalini Singh, legal editor, India Today, on what the Tahawwur Hussain Rana papers relieved. Geeta Mohan, the Foreign Affairs Editor of India Today, on the diplomatic effort to secure his release. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, former top diplomat, joins us on the show. He served in Pakistan. Sushant Sareen is Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. And Munir Ahmed is an analyst and a journalist who joins us from Pakistan. But Nalini, I want to understand the legal position first. Right now, this 64-year-old Pakistani terrorist is shivering like a leaf. He doesn't want to be extradited to India because he says that he is a Muslim of Pakistani origin. He may not survive in India. He may be tortured in India. But that time, there are documents that reveal that he was celebrating after 26/11 when 166 people died. He was celebrating and he wanted Pakistan's highest award to be given to those 10 terrorists. What do these documents reveal, Nalini?
Well, Gaurav, what we need to understand is that what a key role Tahawwur Rana actually plays, not only in the 26/11 attacks, but in the entire planning that was done by the LAT to create terror in India. And Tahawwur Rana is a key link between the LET as well as David Headley, because it was on the instructions of Hafiz Saeed is why Tahawwur Rana was providing the logistical and the financial support to David Headley while he was in India. Along with that, Tahawwur Rana was so closely linked to the entire 26/11 terror plot that almost 200 times during the 8 visits that Headley made to India, Tahawwur Rana spoke to him on the phone. It wasn't just through the phone. In fact, through emails, there were regular correspondences between David Headley and Tahawwur Rana, and they continuously kept changing their email IDs and also using coded language in the emails so that there is no red flag on the system of any security agency. In fact, it's interesting to note that Tahawwur Rana himself was in India, not just in India, in Mumbai from the 11th of November 2008 till the 21st of November 2008, which was just 5 days before the attacks had actually taken place. And from the time that David Headley had stepped his foot on Indian soil, it was Tahawwur Rana's contacts and his people in India who were providing all of the logistical support to David Headley to help him carry out his activities. So the kind of role that is played by Tahawwur Rana in this entire case is apparent from the fact that right from the trial court in the United States, right up till the Supreme Court, each and every court has refused to not just stop his extradition, but even stay his extradition during the time his habeas corpus is pending, which means that there has been absolutely a watertight case that has been made out by the prosecutors to ensure that Tahawwur Rana can be brought back to India, can be tried for his crimes, and the victims of 26/11 and the entire country of India can finally expect some justice in the case.
Oh, absolutely. Geeta, does that message go out loud and clear? Because you've been tracking the story diplomatically. The Narendra Modi government has been trying for years to ensure he is released. And there must have been multiple hurdles to cross before the day that he's finally being sent back to India, Geeta.
Well, this is indeed a diplomatic win for the Modi administration, Gaurav, if not anything else, because like Nalini just pointed out, he was acquitted in the 26/11 case, and it was only later that when the extradition request was put in and an appeal was filed by Tahawwur Rana to stop the extradition, that the court said that there is additional information that has been provided by the Indian side, and therefore the extradition went through. And this is not just one administration. 2 consecutive governments in Washington, D.C. have agreed to extradite Tahawwur Rana, and it was only a matter of process. So a huge diplomatic win in many ways than one. And look at the manner in which it was expedited. Not just that the Biden administration agreed and there was a process in place. Donald Trump actually announced it in the White House that there is a man, this very bad man, terrorist, who will be sent back, and we're sending him back to, or we're sending him to India. So the extradition was announced by none other than the President of the United States of America. And since then, we've only seen a very smooth process of rejections for Tahawwur Rana and extradition of the request of extradition for Tahawwur Rana to India. So we'll be seeing him in India soonest. And then the real case, having one person here in India against all those actors in Pakistan, could also start.
Very interesting link that you point out, Sushant Sareen. The fact that this terrorist was that crucial link between the 10 terrorists who targeted Mumbai, the locations that had been targeted in India, and the orders that came from the likes of Major Iqbal, a certain Major Iqbal of Pakistan's ISI, and Hafiz Mohammed Saeed directly. What more can you tell us about why this is more than just an academic exercise? The sleeper cells in India and the recce that he had carried out. What more can you tell us, Sushant Sareen?
So, Gaurav, we'll have to see what is the kind of information he shucks up and how much of it is going to be relevant, because some of those guys might not be alive anymore. Some of them might be outside the long arm of the law in India. But even then, I think the fact that Tahawwur Rana was an integral part of that conspiracy to carry out the 26/11 attacks makes him an extremely valuable, person for India to have extradited and visit justice upon him. Also, I think we'll get to learn a lot more of how the networks in India operate. Also, the fact that in many cases, the Pakistanis have already picked up targets, have already made their plans, as is evident from the 26/11 attacks, that they took about 3 years before they finally put the attack, the plan in motion. So there must be other targets, and we have to see if there are some other such targets which they have identified. Secondly, I think what it does is it debunks that nonsensical propaganda, including by third-rate air marshals from the Pakistan Air Force, who have been writing articles questioning what exactly happened on 26/11, and of course, senior so-called Pakistani journalists who have been asking about, 26/11, the real truth. I think this guy is a walking, talking example of the real truth that is going to come pouring out. Third, I think this is important, not just the fact that he has been extradited, but can we make this a precedent for more extradition from the civilized world? But equally important, I think it is important for India to make certain changes in law to start holding trials in absentia of Pakistan or Bangladesh or some other country which harbors these terrorists, to start holding trials in absentia for some of these people and even pronounce punishments, and perhaps explore ways and means of carrying out those punishments by whatever means are necessary in the countries in which they are staying, so that there are no safe havens for terrorists who come and commit mass murder in India.
That's a very important point. And perhaps with this extradition, Ambassador Dogra, does that message go out? It may take years, it may take decades, but if you are a terrorist who's been involved in killing innocent Indians, India will trace you, India will track you, and India will bring you to justice, like India intends to do with Tahawwur Hussain Rana.
Well, absolutely. And, as I was mentioning earlier, Ajmal Kasab was a foot soldier. He knew nothing except for shooting at people. Rana is the first real villain and mastermind of 26/11 that has come to India's fold. What he reveals would certainly be a major plus for Indian security agencies. More than that, what surprises me is how come a person of Pakistani origin could establish an office in India with such ease. Not only that, how come a person of Pakistani origin like Headley get 10-year visa? I know from my experience that for a Pakistani origin person, getting even a 10-day visa is next to impossible.
Unless even if he's an American or a Canadian passport holder.
Exactly. We go into minute details as to where he was born, why is he wanting to go to India, and so on. It is reciprocal. Pakistan is much more rigorous in this respect. So for him to get that 10-year visa is like climbing the Mount Everest. Who helped him?
And yet he apparently did it with relative ease. The fact that he got visas and set up a company in Mumbai, perhaps that question will finally be answered. Who were the facilitators in India, Ambassador Dogra?
Exactly. Who were the facilitators, wherever they were, for such a major visa lapse? The second thing is that Rana's role has been understated. It has been unacknowledged and is relatively unknown compared to what Headley has been accused of and what Headley
Yes.
did. Whereas Rana is equally culpable because he had wrecked India, he had wrecked the places where ultimately that carnage took place. So I think more needs to be brought out, as you are doing and as your channel is doing, about what Rana's intentions were, what his planning was, and how villainous his role was in the entire operation. Because with his Pakistani army background,
Absolutely.
I'm sure he was more dirty collar than white collar in this entire operation.
Sir, I had covered Tahawwur Hussain Rana's trial in Chicago and David Coleman Headley, and information that came out was shocking. The FBI had carried out a detailed investigation. They tracked their car, both Headley and Rana. They wouldn't talk in their house, so they knew that even FBI could be snooping on them. They would get into their car and they would drive, and then they would talk in a moving vehicle. But the FBI was a step ahead. They had put listening devices in that car, and they would track that car and listen to that conversation which was played out in court. And all this information came out in that Chicago federal court. Munir, since you've joined us from Pakistan, I want to understand from you, sir, a Pakistan army captain living in Canada plots a terror attack in India, is in touch with a certain Major Iqbal and with Hafiz Saeed and with Ilyas Kashmiri and several others. Do we expect Pakistan to take action against any information that's revealed by him, either earlier in Chicago or now in India?
Thank you, first of all, for taking me to your show. And this would be my own personal opinion as a geopolitical analyst. First of all, I believe when he is a Canadian national, he's no more a Pakistani national. And if some has been a Pakistani national and now adopted another nationality, and whatever he is doing, he may be it's his own capacity and does not represent Pakistan. This is my first. This is the first point, and second is I really sympathize whatever happened in that incident, because 166 lives were gone, and those were the human beings. Of course, even we cry for the animals as well. And this is the heinous crime, and it should be investigated. And when it is sort of when you blame some other country, I think there should be some independent judicial trial.
Federal Bureau of Investigation is not Indian.
India.
Munir, you either need to read up when you come on the show. I'm sorry, you need to read up. I don't have time to waste. You need to read up. Federal Bureau of Investigation is an American agency. It carried out an investigation. It found out that this man was involved in a terror attack. It found out of a certain Major Ilyas in Pakistan. It found out about a certain Hafiz Muhammad Saeed, and it implicated Pakistan's ISI. Is that independent enough for you? And this happened not now, but at least a decade earlier. Is that independent enough for you, sir?
You are true.
India does not want Pakistani platitudes. We want action on terror. Do we expect it?
Excuse me. Until proven guilty in real terms, then you cannot, blame Pakistan.
Absolutely, and that's exactly why Sushant said. That's exactly why, for example, Hafiz Muhammad Saeed, who's a UN-designated global terrorist, leading a UN-designated banned terrorist organization, can continue to lead the Eid namaz at the Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore, and Pakistanis say, "Oh, he's not convicted. It's okay." Munir, seriously, no wonder Pakistan is treated as an international terror center.
So Gaurav,
Sushant.
Before your question, I was just making some talking
First
points.
Sushant and then Munir.
So Gaurav, I was just making some talking points, and one of the first things which I'd written down as a jotting point, and this reflects the insincerity and the dissemble which is being indulged by your Pakistani guest. He's pretending that he's very sincere, that his heart is weeping because so many people were killed, but actually he celebrates the death of people in India. But my point, the point which I had written was the Pakistanis will deny and claim that he's a Canadian or an American, right? This is a standard operating procedure by all these ISI linked hacks inside Pakistan. This is their standard form of denial and plausible deniability that they maintain. That's point number one. Secondly, you talk about Hafiz Saeed. Incidentally, let me just join issue with Ambassador Dogra, who's saying that, how come this guy was given a 10-year visa to India? Sir, we have given 10-year visas to Pakistanis, third-rate Pakistani analysts who come and pretend that they are very friendly and look for friendly relations with India. We've given them multiple entry visas for many, many years. What are you talking about? These fellows who are unknown quantities living in the West. We've done that to Pakistanis. You want names? I'll give you names out here. But on Hafiz Saeed, Gaurav, look, this man has been already convicted. Now, this gentleman from Pakistan, until they have been proven guilty, Sajid Mir, who these guys said had died, had been buried, was dug up from his grave.
Shall I interrupt? May I say something? Like, if
you
these
would,
are the
I would
things,
like you to, but only if you're giving us some.
Pakistani authorities have also grabbed
nobody knows
several.
what conditions under which Hafiz Saeed is living, because apparently he's in jail, but he's free to be moving around. So this is the kind of prison system which they've set, which is basically an eyewash to the international community, which had been leaning on them to act against these internationally designated terrorists. The Pakistanis do not want to do it because these are assets of the Pakistani state. So if you expect that
it's not a matter of like who is the asset of which government, it's basically like when we see in Pakistan, there are so many, terrorist activities for long years. And we have been suffering from those terrorist activities. And whenever the clues are found by the agencies of Pakistan, it comes like the raw agents. And we have Pakistani authorities have also nabbed
Is that
some.
your response?
And
really?
this is the
on civilized television, that's your response?
This is the cross-border
No,
things.
hold on. Do you understand why Pakistan is treated like an international terror epicenter? Any terror attack across the world is linked back to Pakistan. You know why your passport is amongst the worst in the world? Why Pakistanis are strip searched virtually across the world? Because Pakistan defends terror. Because Pakistan refuses to condemn terror. Because Pakistan celebrates terror. Like this chap Tahawwur Hussain Rana, who was celebrating with whiskey, which is haram in your religion. He was celebrating with Scotch whiskey, saying give national award to all these 10 terrorists who are carrying out the terror attack in India.
Those who are against Pakistan since the day of its inception. And I believe that we need to take more carefully such kind of cross-border issues. And it cannot be resolved by blaming and by such kind of incidents. It should be dealt bilaterally, by sitting together, by negotiating together.
Sitting with a terror sponsor?
If there are such kind of
terror
things,
victim does not sit with a terror sponsor. Not even when you come with a begging bowl next time. I am sorry. Punish terrorists first. Perhaps, Ambassador Dogra, that is the language that India, as it's clearly currently speaking. You want good ties with India? You take action against terrorists. But Ambassador Dogra, I think Foreign Minister Jaishankar was absolutely right when he said terror and bigotry is in their DNA, or words to that effect.
He was absolutely...
Ambassador Dogra, and then I'm coming to you, Munir.
He was absolutely right. And not only the Indian Foreign Minister is saying that, the entire world is repeating that Pakistan is the base, the home, and the provider for all terror activities in the world. The British Prime Minister said 70% of all terror activities in the world have their origin in Pakistan. But let me make two other quick points. Number one, did your Pakistani guest compare loss of human and animal lives in the same sentence? That will be shocking if that is true. Second,
that's their thinking. Go on, sir.
Second, as far as visas are concerned, we cannot compare visas to a terrorist or terrorist accomplices with other visas. I don't know the background to what Sushant is saying. Sushant is a good young friend, and he must be correct as to some journalists who may have been given visas. But I am talking about a terrorist who plotted the death of over 160 Indian people, who was given a visa to establish an office here, who was given a visa to his colleague for 10 years. And this is literally unprecedented. Whatever may be the reason, this needs to be looked into as to who facilitated him. And as you said very rightly, the Indian connection in Mumbai or elsewhere in India also needs to be looked into on the basis of the fresh evidence that interrogation provides us with this Rana.
And Sushant, before I bring in Munir, I really want you to respond to this. Very well-heeled people in Mumbai, they were whining and dining this so-called blue-eyed, white American-looking Pakistani-American terrorist called David Coleman Headley. Of course, give them the benefit of the doubt. They didn't know that he was a terrorist then. But even subsequently, all these elements who engage with the Pakistanis, who come to India, go back and then abuse India. Perhaps somewhere down the line, this Tahawwur Hussain Rana and David Coleman Headley case should make it very clear. If you abuse India, you are unwelcome in India. You may want, they may beg for Indian aid, they may beg for Indian food and oil and electricity and God alone knows what. And then they go back and abuse India, whether it's on Kashmir or any other issue. It's unacceptable in New India. So, Shant, perhaps that message needs to go out loud and clear after Tahawwur Hussain Rana's interrogation.
Yeah, Gaurav, let me again join issue with you on this one. You know, you are trying to give some kind of a clean sheet to some of those guys who were whining and dining with David Headley. And I might have agreed with you. But also remember that some of those same people whose family members were hand in glove with David Headley in one form or another were also sitting in press conferences and saying that what happened on 26/11 was an RSS conspiracy. Yes. Or have you forgotten that? So if these guys were, their hands were so clean, they would not have done something as treacherous as that or as treasonous as that. So forget about these lowlives living in Bombay and these Bollywoodia types who were doing what they were doing. But I think on the larger point, Gaurav, you and I agree, perhaps Ambassador Dogra also agrees with us. But the fact of the matter is that some of those so-called journalists who we were giving these visas to and we were welcoming and fating out here are not people who came with a clean heart. And this gentleman out here who shows his upbringing and his mental makeup when he says killing of Hindus and killing of animals, he puts on the same pedestal and then his heart weeps. So forget about this character. But these kind of guys who say that, you know, we should sit down, we should talk about it, we should have a dialogue. We tried it. We formed a joint anti-terror mechanism. What happened with that? We gave them information about terrorists being in a certain place. You know what they used to do? They used to take that information, then work backwards. Number one, tell the terrorists that you run away from here. We will do a raid and say we found nobody out here. This is the kind of double games they have been playing. They did this not only with us, they've done this with the Americans. They've done it with everybody else. So if you think that these Pakistanis are going to come clean, that you can have a dialogue with them, that you can have peaceful coexistence with them.
Sir, give me a moment. I quickly want to cut across and listen into the Ministry of External Affairs on Tahawwur Hussain Rana's extradition.
So, Ayushi, your question regarding what was discussed between External Affairs Minister and the US Secretary of State. He discussed several issues. We also had put out the discussion points that included conversation on West Asia, regional development, some international development. They also discussed the importance of early conclusion of bilateral trade agreement. So that was more or less what comprised the discussion between the two leaders. Keshav, on Bangladesh, on the transshipment, this was a facility that was extended to Bangladesh in 2020. The transshipment facility
Major development taking place right now. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is meeting the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is also a part of this meeting, and this is happening in North Block just ahead of the extradition of Tahawwur Hussain Rana from the United States to India. We are told that this key security huddle is taking place just ahead of Rana's extradition. This is very, very crucial. Tahawwur Hussain Rana as a last-ditch attempt to avoid being extradited to India, had submitted before the Chief Justice in the United States of America in the Supreme Court, saying he's a Muslim, he's of Pakistani origin, and in case he's sent to India, it's almost akin to signing his death warrant or words to that effect. Of course, that's clearly not true considering the lifestyle that people have in Indian prisons. Even Ajmal Amir Kassab had a fair trial, a free and fair trial in an Indian court. And there you see images both of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval in that meeting, going for that meeting with the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Jitendra Bahadur Singh. My colleague Jitendra Bahadur Singh joins us for more on this. Jitendra, अगर विदेश मंत्री और राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा सलाहकार दोनों गृह मंत्रालय जा रहे हैं और नॉर्थ ब्लॉक में गृह मंत्री के साथ उनकी मुलाकात है, बेहद महत्वपूर्ण होगी, इसके बारे में क्या जानकारी निकल कर आ रही है जितेंद्र?
और देखिए गौरव, ये काफी महत्वपूर्ण बैठक माना जा रहा है इन सबके बीच, जबकि ये लगातार कोशिश जो हमारी सुरक्षा एजेंसियां हैं वो कर रही हैं वहां से तहव्वुर राणा को अमेरिका से लाने के लिए। इसके बीच में केंद्रीय जो विदेश मंत्री हैं वो यहां पर पहुंचे हुए हैं, केंद्रीय गृह मंत्री अमित शाह से मुलाकात कर रहे हैं। इसके साथ ही एनएसए अजीत डोवाल भी यहां पर अब से थोड़ी देर पहले पहुंचे हैं। वो दोनों लोग एक साथ ही अलग अलग गाड़ियों से पहुंचे और उसके बाद अंदर नॉर्थ ब्लॉक में जो गृह मंत्रालय, केंद्रीय गृह मंत्री अमित शाह का ऑफिस है, वहां पर मुलाकात उनके द्वारा इस वक्त किया जा रहा है। एक काफी महत्वपूर्ण बैठक मानी जा रही है गौरव ये, क्योंकि पिछले हमने सुबह से देखा कि जो हमारी एजेंसीज हैं वो अमेरिका में है और वहां से एक विशेष विमान के जरिए तहव्वुर राणा जो कि 26/11 हमले का मास्टरमाइंड है उसको भारत लाया जा रहा है, ये बताया जा रहा है। और इसके बीच में यहाँ पर विदेश मंत्री एस जयशंकर की मुलाकात ये काफी महत्वपूर्ण मानी जा रही है, क्योंकि लगातार जो है इसमें जो टीम गई हुई है उसमें कहा जा रहा है कि एनआईए की टीम है, इसके साथ साथ आईबी और विदेश मंत्रालय के अधिकारी भी इस टीम में शामिल हैं, जो कि तहव्वुर राणा को एक्स्ट्राडाइट करके भारत लेकर के आ रहे हैं। अभी केंद्रीय गृह मंत्री अमित शाह से विदेश मंत्री एस जयशंकर की मुलाकात हो रही है, साथ में एनएसए अजीत डोभाल भी उस बैठक में मौजूद हैं। सूत्र बताते हैं कि तहव्वुर राणा को जो एक्स्ट्राडाइट किया जा रहा है, जो अमेरिका से भारत लाया जा रहा है, उस पर भी चर्चा इस पर हो सकती है, इस तरीके की जानकारी मिल रही है। लेकिन अब से थोड़ी देर पहले ये बैठक शुरू हुई है और इस बैठक में जो विदेश मंत्री एस जयशंकर और इसके साथ ही एनएसए अजीत डोभाल इसमें शामिल है।
रहिए मेरे साथ, and Jitendra and I will continue this conversation in just a moment, but let's quickly cut across and listen in to Randhir Jaiswal, spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs, specifically on the issue of Tahawwur Hussain Rana's extradition to India.
As far as the extradition of Mr. Rana is concerned, at this point in time, I don't have an update, but we'll provide you an update at the appropriate time.
So an update hopefully we shall have shortly, perhaps after this meeting. Jitendra, गृह मंत्रालय में जो मीटिंग हो रही है, क्या तहव्वुर हुसैन राणा को दिल्ली लाया जाएगा, मुंबई ले जाया जाएगा, आर्थर रोड जेल के उसी अंडा सेल जिसमें अजमल आमिर कसाब को रखा गया था, क्या उसमें रखा जाएगा, तिहाड़ जेल में होगा? जो एनआईए की टीम है वो क्या क्या तैयारियों के साथ है इस समय?
और देखिए, जिस तरीके से एनआईए की टीम वहां पर गई है, जो सूत्रों ने जानकारी दी है उसके मुताबिक 2 एनआईए के आईजी स्तर के अधिकारी हैं जो कि अमेरिका गए हुए हैं। इसके साथ साथ आईबी और रॉ के अधिकारी इस टीम में शामिल है। यही नहीं, जो विदेश मंत्रालय के अधिकारी हैं वो भी इस टीम में मौजूद हैं। तहव्वुर राणा को भारत लाया जा रहा है। सूत्र बताते हैं कि सबसे पहले तहव्वुर राणा को दिल्ली लाया जाएगा। दिल्ली में जो एनआईए का डेजिग्नेटेड कोर्ट है उसमें प्रोड्यूस किया जाएगा और उसके बाद एनआईए रिमांड लेगी। उसके बाद ये जानकारी मिल रही कि एनआईए उससे विस्तृत पूछताछ कर सकती है। सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि तहव्वुर राणा के जिस तरीके से डेविड कोलमैन हेडली से लिंक है, जो जानकारी मिल रही है उसके मुताबिक वो लगातार जो है पाकिस्तानी खुफिया एजेंसी आईएसआई के संपर्क में था। इसके साथ ही ये भी पता चल रहा है कि वो पाकिस्तानी आर्मी के भी संपर्क में था। तो इन तमाम चीजों की जानकारी जो है तहव्वुर राणा से जब एनआईए कस्टडी में लेगी और उससे पूछताछ करेगी करेगी तब पता चलेगा। लेकिन जो पहले से जानकारी जब FBI ने पूछताछ किया था तहव्वुर राणा से, तो उस दौरान भी ऐसी खबरें निकल करके आई थी कि डेविड कोलमैन हेडली ने किस तरीके से तहव्वुर राणा को एज ए उसको ट्रेवल एजेंट के तौर पर इस्तेमाल किया और उसके बाद अलग अलग जगहों की मुंबई में रेकी किया।
लेकिन
तो
इस समय जो बड़ा प्रश्न ये है कि पाकिस्तान में कौन कौन लोग इनके आका थे, किसके ये संपर्क में थे, एंड हु वर द स्लीपर सेल्स in India, because these terrorists wanted to strike, according to information that was revealed, the Siddhivinayak temple in Mumbai, the National Defence College in Delhi, and there were multiple other vital assets and vital points that these Pakistanis wanted to target. I hope all that information comes out in public domain, and we'll be tracking that story very, very closely. Ambassador Dogra, Sushant Sareen and Munir Khan for joining me on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks. And Munir, I sincerely hope Pakistan wakes up and takes action against these terrorists. Otherwise, perhaps there are those unknown gunmen in Pakistan who will continue to float around. Amidst rising tensions following the violence in Murshidabad in West Bengal, India Today has obtained a video footage of a very provocative statement made during an anti-Waqf bill rally. Now, this rally, which was organized by the Imam Muazzin Association and was supported by various organizations and social welfare groups in Bengal, has been characterized as inflammatory. There were inflammatory speeches that were made, and there was anti-national sloganeering in this rally. According to information that we've been able to receive through our reporters on ground, protesters blocked the national highway when they carried out their demonstration against the Waqf bill. Police, of course, used force to disperse the crowd. They cleared the blockade, but the situation spiraled out of control. What followed was massive unrest that intensified as rioters threw stones at the police and set police vehicles on fire. In retaliation, the authorities fired tear gas shells, used lathi charge in an attempt to regain control of the situation. But during these protests, the rioters, they raised anti-India slogans. They issued threats to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah. The protests then turned violent, and the volatile situation there is still tense but simmering. Tension is simmering in that area. Listen in.
আমি মোদি সাহেব আরএসএস এর গুন্ডা বাহিনীকে উদ্দেশ্য করে তাদের দৃষ্টি আকর্ষণ করে বলতে চাই, তারা এমন ভুল জায়গাতে পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করেছে। তারা ঢিল ছুটছিল পাখিকে, বিভিন্ন জায়গাতে ঢিল ছুটছিল, কিন্তু পরিশেষে তারা এমন একটা জায়গাতে ঢিল ছুঁড়েছে, মৌমাছির চাকে ঢিল ছুঁড়েছে। মৌমাছির চাকে ঢিল ছুঁড়লে যেমন মৌমাছি খেপে যায়, আমরা মৌমাছির মতো খেপে গিয়ে এমন কামড় দেব মোদি এবং অমিত শাহ ভারতবর্ষ ছেড়ে পালাতে দিতে পারবে না।
বাবরি মসজিদ আমাদের কাছ থেকে কেড়ে নেওয়া হলো, আমরা সহ্য করলাম। মুসলমানদেরকে যেখানে আরএসএস এর সংখ্যা গরিষ্ঠ রয়েছে তাদেরকে মারা হচ্ছে, আমরা সহ্য করলাম। তাদেরকে অপবাদ দেওয়া হচ্ছে, আমরা সহ্য করলাম। মুসলিম লিডারদেরকে বন্দী করা হচ্ছে, তার কথা বন্ধ করার জন্য আমরা সহ্য করলাম, কিন্তু আর নয়। এবার মুসলমানের আর ঘুমিয়ে থাকার সময় নয়। মোদী সরকারকে বলবো, আপনি ভুল করেছেন, ঘুমন্ত বাঘকে জাগিয়ে দিয়েছেন।
A peaceful protest is okay, but inciting a mob and then targeting a police vehicle and then setting a police vehicle on fire and then hurling anti-national slogans, is that acceptable form of protest by these protesters in the name of protesting against the Waqf law? We'll track that story closely, but for the moment I want to cut across to Bangladesh, because a spark neglected actually burns the house. Look at what's happening in Bangladesh. Outlets of international brands such as Bata, KFC, Pizza Hut, Puma, They've been vandalized and looted in Bangladesh. Thousands of these radical Islamists took to the streets to protest against Israel. So they're protesting against Israel. They're protesting in favor of Palestinians, but looting a Bata store. Chappal chura ke kya protest hota hai is the big question that's being asked. Now, Chief Advisor to Bangladesh government, Muhammad Yunus, he's claiming there'll be a crackdown, but will there actually be a crackdown? Especially when the government is being run by Jamaat-e-Islami and other radical Islamic organizations. And that's the big threat, not just to people in Bangladesh, but to the region. Bangladesh erupts again. Widespread vandalism across multiple cities. Chaos unfolded on the streets of Bangladesh capital Dhaka on Monday as protests condemning Israel's offensive in Gaza turned violent. Thousands took to the streets in Sylhet, Chittagong, Khulna, Bashirhat, Kumbhila and Dhaka in solidarity with Palestine. International chains like KFC, Puma, Bata, Domino's and Pizza Hut were targeted as protesters perceived them to be linked to Israel. Videos that have gone viral on social media show mobs smashing glass doors of a Bata showroom with bricks before looting shoes by the dozen. Another video showed a KFC outlet being damaged with sticks. Several showrooms of Puma and Domino's were also vandalized. Swift police action came as Bangladesh hosted its first global investment summit under the regime of Muhammad Yunus to attract investors amidst an economic downturn. Over 70 people have been arrested so far and many more have been booked. Bangladesh government's interim chief advisor, Professor Muhammad Yunus, condemned the violence. He had earlier condemned Israel's action on Gaza, referring the situation as a human catastrophe.
This is also a message that how Dr. Yunus' government and the interim government has failed to curb on these elements who have made Bangladesh into total uncertainty and a chaotic situation. Post Sheikh Hasina's exit, Bangladesh remain under turbulence, and now the radical elements are so free that they are even attacking the infrastructure, the investment. The country is in total crumbling situation. This is Ashutosh Mishra bringing you this report for India Today.
China will impose 84% tariffs on US goods from Thursday, up from 34% previously announced. The Chinese Finance Ministry has announced. Now, Beijing has filed a lawsuit against the United States at the World Trade Organization, or the WTO, challenging Washington DC's 50% tariff imposition on China, 50% tariff hike. Along with the 34% imposition, so that makes it 84 even from the American side. China has said US tariff action seriously violated WTO rules, calling it a mistake on top of a mistake and an example of unilateral bullying. There's an intense trade war on between the United States of America and China. What will it lead to? Lots of reactions are coming in. The White House has claimed China is seeking a trade deal, but they've asked them to reduce tariff rates for trade talks to happen and for the deal to happen. So there's a lot of public posturing happening at one level, perhaps for domestic and world audience, and another behind the scenes negotiations. Listen in.
This is bigger than any deal. You guys, some of you work for companies. Your companies are peanuts. I don't care how big they are. Compared, this is the largest transaction in the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, you know, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, you know, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating sell America fast because you're going to go busted. I'm proud to be the president for the workers, not the outsourcers. The president who stands up for Main Street, not Wall Street, who protects the middle class, not the political class, and who defends America, not trade cheaters all over the globe. They're trade cheaters. They cheated on us. They cheated with tariffs on us. They stole our money. They stole our jobs.
We'll track developments on the story closely, but that is all I have for you on 5 Live this evening. Many thanks for watching.